Well, from my side, I'm just focusing on the driving bit, and I think that is also the most important for the team right now, and that's also why, we came here.
After just 3 days of preseason testing, Red Bull already got tongues wagging. The RB20, Max Verstappen's got his hands on it, and man, he's making it sing. But how did Red Bull pull off this? Red Bull, the unstoppable force in F1, decides to hit the scene with a game changer. We're talking about their latest masterpiece, the RB20. Now you might think, how can they top the RB19? Well, strap in, cause this guy ain't just an upgrade, it's a whole new beast. Forget what you know about last year's record breaker, cause the RB20 is here to change all that. The RB19 was like the cool older sibling, breaking records left and right. But the RB20, the folks at Red Bull are calling it a foundation for future greatness. And you know what? We believe him. They've got plans to tweak and tune this baby until 2025, and that's sending shivers down the spines of every other team on the grid. So, what's the deal with the RB20? What's under the hood that's got everyone talking? Helmut Marko himself is calling the RB20 a thorough revolution, not just an evolution of last year's beast. Red Bull didn't just wake up one day and decide to build a new car. They took inspiration from rejected proposals and studied the competition. Take, for example, the hood with the cannons. It's like they peeked over Mercedes' shoulder and took notes. Last year, Max and the RB19 were already leaving rivals in the dust, giving the team the luxury of focusing on the RB20 with precision. So what's the deal with all these changes? Well, it's all about gaining that edge, that extra half second that separates the winners from the rest. With their rivals closing in, the Austrian squad went on the offensive. The RB20 wasn't just a casual upgrade, it was a calculated risk, a bold move to push the limits and stay ahead of the pack. You see, the RB19 was already a beast on the track, but Red Bull knew they had to up their game even further. So what did they do? They took their tried and tested concepts, flipped them on their head, and pushed them to the extreme. And you know what? It paid off. Max Verstappen himself slipped the info during testing in Bahrain, admitting that the RB20 is like a fresh canvas just waiting to unleash its full potential. Red Bull has gone deep into their machine, upgrading everything from brakes to internal mechanics. They've decked out their braking system with the latest Brembo discs. They've revolutionized the game, relocating the entire cooling system and keeping the transmission oil radiator on top of the power unit. Newey and the crew have gone back to the drawing board, revamping old themes and bringing back a V-shaped arrangement of the exchanges within the sidewalls, a sight we haven't seen in F1 for years. They're also shaking things up with their cooling system, opting for a unique setup with charged air coolers located on the lower side pods. A move that's got Honda as the only engine provider using air-to-air exchanges for cooling. While others are focusing on lightweight designs to cool the turbo, Red Bull's powertrains are all about maximizing efficiency. Exchanges are strategically placed behind the driver to cool the hybrid component and a narrow vertical intake under the bellies to supercharge airflow. They've gone all in on emphasizing the undercut by rearranging the radiant masses, completely altering the geometry of the belly sockets from last year. According to specialists in the know, rebuilding a cooling system like Red Bull's would take months, pushing any imitators back until October at the earliest. It's a move that's got everyone else playing catch-up, even the sister teams, who, despite sharing many mechanics and the power unit, are still lagging behind in the race to replicate Red Bull's genius. But guess what? Red Bull's pulling out all the stops and shaking up the grid once again. While intellectual property might be off-limits for transfer between teams, Red Bull stunned everyone by rolling out upgrades that look suspiciously familiar to last year's Mercedes W14. This move has brought some serious drama to the preseason, with some seeing it as Red Bull's ultimate flex, showing the world that they can not only match their rivals but surpass them with designs that others can only dream of. And let us tell you folks, what was the RB20's performance in last week's tests in Bahrain? It's got world champion vibes all over it. Well guys, it looks like Red Bull has mixed emotions when it comes to borrowing ideas from their rivals. Originally, they were dead set against incorporating proposals from other teams for their engine gully and side pod inlets. According to their technical director Pierre Wache, there are a lot of emotions involved in taking someone else's ideas instead of cooking up your own. But when asked if there's any irony in adopting Mercedes' ideas, He's all about putting emotions aside and focusing on what works best, because at the end of the day, it's all about that stopwatch. Sure, they might prefer to stick to their own ideas, but when push comes to shove, they're not afraid to do whatever it takes to come out on top. They knew they were cruising on a performance plateau with their RB19, with rivals nipping at their heels during the 2023 season. So what did they do? Well, they threw caution to the wind and went all in on something completely new. When asked what drove the decision, Pierre Wacha spilled it, saying it all came down to the numbers and simulations. They knew they had to step up their game, because if they didn't, someone else would. Sure, it was a risk, but sometimes you gotta roll the dice to come out on top. So, in the end, it wasn't just an evolution of their car. It was a bold strategy to shake things up and give themselves the freedom to make a big change. And you know what? Judging by their performance in testing, it looks like it paid off. When it comes down to it, guys, Red Bull's decision to ditch the tried-and-true RB19 for something completely fresh might seem risky. But according to Pierre Wacha, there's no doubt in their minds that they made the right call. Sure, sticking with what worked before might have been the safer option, especially when the RB19 was already ahead of the pack. But Wacha is crystal clear there's no aspect of risk-taking in their decision this year. According to him, it's all about staying ahead of the game, pushing boundaries, and keeping that competitive edge sharp. Pierre Wacha is all about calculated moves, not blind gambles. We don't gamble, he says, we just take risks. And you know what? There's a world of difference between the two. It's not about rolling the dice and hoping for the best. It's about knowing where you want to go and figuring out the best way to get there. It's about being proactive, not reactive. Red Bull's approach is all about minimizing risks through careful analysis and preparation. Pierre Wacha explains they work tirelessly to mitigate those risks through thorough study and analysis. And let us tell you guys, their hard work is paying off big time. Just take a look at the Bahrain testing results. Max Verstappen is leading the pack by a solid margin, leaving Ferrari, Mercedes, and Sergio Perez in his dust. Even Aston Martin and McLaren are struggling to keep up. Now, sure, there were some concerns about Perez's performance in the heat, but when it comes to Verstappen and the RB20, it's clear that they're setting an unbeatable standard. With consistently impressive lap times and exceptional endurance runs, it's safe to say that Red Bull has once again raised the bar in F1 engineering. So the question remains, will anyone be able to come close to challenging their dominance? Wacha's philosophy is simple. You set your sights on a goal, and then you work backward to find the solution. It's all about strategy, folks, and when you've got a clear vision of where you're headed, the path forward becomes crystal clear. So while others might be playing a game of chance, Red Bull's playing to win, and that means taking risks, not gambling. Anyway, one thing is for sure, Red Bull's clearly shaking up the F1 game with their new RB20. We can't wait to hear what you guys think about this. Do drop your thoughts in the comments section below. If you enjoyed this video and want to stay up to date with all the latest F1 news and insights, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss a thing. Until next time, stay awesome, and we will be back with another one.